first passage is where that opening song came from today, Psalm 131. If you'd like to read along. It says, O Lord, my heart is not lifted up. My eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me. But I have calmed and quieted my soul, like a child quieted at its mother's breast. Like a child that is quieted is my soul. O Israel, hope in the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. And our second passage comes from John chapter 15. We're going to read 1 through 17. Jesus is speaking. We moved into the section right before kind of the final moments of Jesus' life, where they call this kind of John's discourse section, where Jesus is trying to teach them some last things before he goes away. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch of mine that bears no fruit he takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. You are already made clean by the word which I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I abide in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. The one who abides in me, and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. If a man does not abide in me, he is cast forth as a branch and withers. And the branches are gathered, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, ask whatever you will, and it shall be done for you. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, and so prove to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another, as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, than he lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends, if you do what I command. No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know what the master is doing, but I have called you friends. For all that I have heard from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should abide, so that whatever you ask in the Father in my name, he may give it to you. This I command to you. Love one another. The word of the Lord. There is a Cherokee tale that perhaps you've heard before. It's an old Cherokee is teaching his grandson about life. And he says, "A fight is going on inside of me," he said to the boy. "It is a terrible fight. It is between two wolves. One is evil. He is anger and envy and sorrow, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego." And the old man continued, "The other is good. He is joy and peace and love and hope and serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." He says to the boy, "This same fight is happening inside you, too." And the grandson thought about it for a minute. And then he asked his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" And the grandfather says, "The one you feed." It's a lot easier said than done, though, right? Because on any given day, I can start with a hope of a new day, and by 10 o'clock, I encounter some situation that has been going on for months and looks like it will continue to go on for months, and there is no end in sight, and so then I'm a combination of irritable and angry. And then by lunch, perhaps I find some compassion for the situation, and then by 3 o'clock, I'm tired and my irritability comes back, or maybe, I don't know, envy, that maybe someone else's life is just better at 3 o'clock in the afternoon than mine. And then by 5 o'clock I get in my car and maybe I feed the right wolf and I'm better, maybe more empathetic when I walk into my door. That's any day, right? I mean, as long as we're aware of our emotions, that we go on a roller coaster ride every day. Right? We go up and down through things. And we can feel that Cherokee's saying being true, that we could personify it, that there is this wolf that kind of begs us to feed it, right? To abate me, right? Get rid of me, try, do your best. And so I have to wonder, like, if I really did try to feed only the good wolf, would the bad wolf actually go away? Or isn't that just part of being human, right? And then when I was thinking about more, I'm thinking, what do we feed it? You know, every analogy breaks down eventually, right? But what the problem with the good wolf is that it likes salad, for example, compared to a bag of chips, right? And a bag of chips is so easy, right? You just open it and throw it there, right? And the wolf's fine. But the good wolf, my gosh, the cleaning and the cutting and then the cleaning up again, right? It just takes a lot of energy to feed the good wolf. And I kind of hear the same concern or the same challenge that Jesus is giving his disciples in John chapter 15. Because it sounds very simple. Abide in me as I abide in you. Okay. And so what happens at 10 o'clock? Right? Because when I got up, it was fine. But then sometime, 3 o'clock comes around every day. What does abiding really mean? What does it mean to remain in God, to stay in the vine, to continue in the way of Christ? I know what it means sometimes to stop or to cease or to walk away, to run away, to discontinue the way of Christ. And one takes a lot more effort to do than the other. I would dare say it's like a momentary challenge. It's not even a daily challenge. It's like a moment-by-moment challenge to tap into the vine, right? How do I tap into it as often as I possibly can? And so that was where I was going somewhere in the middle of the week, this idea of tapping into the vine, right? And what do you have on tap? And so then I was arguing with myself yesterday because I like sermons that end in questions way more than I like sermons that end in prescriptions, right? But if I end this sermon by saying, abide in the vine, how do you do that? You feed the right wolf. Let us pray. Right? That seems really... now let's have tea. And so I'm going to give a little prescription. It's not really in my way, but I am going to give a prescription today. As best that I know, this day in the year 2014, how to tap into the vine. The first thing that I would work on is where my thoughts are, right? Which is also way easier said than done. To control our thought life is absurd, right? But that's the number one way that we have to tap into what Christ wants of our lives and where God is in the world, is to make sure our thoughts are what God would want us thinking, or that our thoughts are leading us to tap into the vine. That would be the number one thing, which ain't easy. And then the second thing I was thinking about is where I put my attention, which sounds like thoughts, but when I was thinking about Jesus, one of the things that's fascinating, I think, about the person of Jesus is that he paid attention to things that we don't naturally pay attention to. He paid attention to people who are on the margins of society way more than he paid attention to the people that are in the limelight. He paid attention to people who are easily dismissed way more than we, because they're easily dismissed. And so where is our attention, right? When we listen to the news, when we're talking to our family, when we're on Facebook, right? Is our attention on that which Jesus' attention would be? Also, way easier said than done. But at least it gives us a shot there, right? There is a moment, usually in the news, when I'm listening and I try to say, who's the people being ignored in this report? Who are we not paying attention to? Because that's probably who Jesus cares the most about. So, what are my thoughts saying? Where is my attention? And then the last, I think, which Jesus got into in this text, right? He said that your purpose is to bear fruit. Right? So what kind of fruit is my life bearing? And do I think that that's even my purpose, I guess? Do I think that my purpose can be the same that Jesus' purpose was? Because if we're branches on the same vine, we're getting the same juice and we're producing the same fruit. So our purpose is meant to be the same purpose that Jesus had on earth, to bring love and to bring light, to bear fruit. Those things that the good wolf does. The kindness and compassion, benevolence, grace, faith, peace, joy, love, hope. Are we tapped into the vine on any regular basis, right? The horrible question I asked myself this morning when I was getting ready is, do I tap into the vine as often as I pick up my cell phone? Ouch. Right? Because the answer to that is no. I mean, that's my answer. Would I wish it to be better? Of course. But I check my cell phone. It's an appendage, right? I can feel it when it's not with me. You can too. I'm not the only one. I walk out the door. If you walk out the door, you only get 3 meters out of your door before you realize your cell phone is not on your person, right? It's like a honing device, right? What if I tapped into the vine, whatever that means? What if I checked my thoughts, and I checked my purpose, and I paid attention to what I was paying attention to every time I picked up my phone? And I've tried tons of ways, right? I can give you my ways, but all of us have to find our own way of how we do it, right? I've set alarms on my phone. I set an alarm once that was a doorbell, and I didn't realize that my phone wouldn't just chime. It would actually go off until I shut it off. And I was in the other room, and I walked out, and Pete says, "Who is ringing the doorbell?" Already, right? We thought it was like the people right above us. I let it go. I still didn't know it was my phone. So that didn't work. Like, that was a good example of what didn't work. But I don't know what it is. Whatever it is that would cause us to find the vine again and remember that we have been grafted into it in the same way that we just did for Lucia today. That she's part of this new vine of God that has been growing way before us, and it will continue way after us. How do we tap into the vine? I dare say the question still is, or the answer still is, you feed the right wolf. Amen?